Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faced heated opposition in the Knesset on Wednesday from opposition lawmakers. He was repeatedly interrupted and challenged for his management of Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza and over stalled talks aimed at freeing Israelis held hostage by the Palestinian militant group. Netanyahu defended the military's accomplishments, saying he'd defied international pressure to back down before accomplishing his objectives. The Prime Minister faces widespread criticism for security failings ahead of Hamas's surprise attack on October 7th, when gunmen from Gaza rampaged through Israeli towns, killing 1,200 and taking more than 250 hostages, according to Israeli tallies. Israel's devastating retaliation has killed more than 38,000 Palestinians, according to Gaza health officials, and reduced nearly all of the densely populated enclave to rubble. But more than 100 Israelis are believed still held captive in Gaza. Hopes that a proposed ceasefire agreement outlined by U.S. President Joe Biden might bring an end to the fighting and a return of hostages have dwindled as Israeli and Hamas negotiations, mediated by Egypt and Qatar, drag on. Protests in Israel, sometimes numbering in the tens of thousands, have demanded Netanyahu bring the kidnapped home and resign. The clashes in the country's parliament on Wednesday come ahead of Netanyahu's planned visit to Washington next week, where he is set to address a joint session of the U.S. Congress. Opposition leader Yair Lapid demanded to know whether Netanyahu would use the occasion to announce he'd accepted a hostage deal. If not, Lapid said, don't go to Washington. Go to Qatar or Cairo or stay here and hold discussions around the clock. He added, don't go give a speech in the air conditioning in Washington while the hostages are dying of suffocation in Gaza's tunnels. Netanyahu is scheduled to meet with Biden, who has defended Israel's operation in Gaza and condemned Hamas, but called for greater efforts to relieve the humanitarian crisis and pushed for a ceasefire that would allow more aid and a return of Israeli captives.